Hello and good morning.
Good morning.
So we'd like to welcome you to our session, Reporting for Developer. And what we would like to do in our session, we would like to show you some things you can do with reporting services and with Power BI. And I think we start by just introducing ourselves or by just saying, please silence your cell phones.
Okay, my name is Tillmann. I'm CEO of a company called OH22 Information Services. I'm located in Germany between Cologne and Bonn. And I'm a Microsoft Data Platform MVP since 8 years and chapter leader for the chapter Rhineland in Germany. And yeah, that's my part.
Okay. So my name is Frank Geisler. I'm also CEO of a German company which is called GDS Business Intelligence GmbH. We are located in Essen, and I'm an MVP since 2014. And the most topics I work with are topics on SQL Server, data platform, reporting services, and Power BI. So let's see what we have as an agenda.
Okay, so 3 years ago we did a similar session about reporting services for developers. In this session we primarily focused on SQL Server Reporting Services. In this session now we will have some more Power BI insight, but we'd like to give you first a really small summary of our last session, and then we start with the reporting platforms comparison, and then we go direct into the demos. We'll show you Paginate reports in Power BI, how you can combine both report types, how you can migrate your Paginate reports to Power BI. We will show you how you can embed reports in your own applications, Windows Forms and Web Forms and some other cool stuff, hopefully. REST API for reporting services. Frank will talk a little bit about Docker, could be 80% of the time.
No.
And at the end, we will talk about reporting service in PowerShell.
Right. So let's start.
Okay. So if you have questions in between, just raise your hand, and we're glad to.
So our session we held 2 years ago was about programming reporting services, and we just summarized all the topics we covered here, because if you're interested in these topics, then we will invite you to just watch the video from last time. So what we were talking about was reporting services custom themes, and I built a little program which is able to give you a branding file where you can brand your reporting services so that they look, so you can change the colors and you can change the icons and everything. Then we talked a little bit about what to do if you would like to have custom charts within reporting services. And one of the possibilities to do this is in VB.NET. I think it's very cumbersome, and it's not so easy. Maybe Tillmann, you can tell a little bit about it.
Yeah, it's just that you have to write each line, each pixel. You have to code everything what you like to show in the report in a chart.
Yeah.
It's not really simple to get the complete code. But our idea was to show how you can extend reporting services with custom charts, and Frank also showed the same thing with R, so that you can create charts with R and show them in the reports.
So maybe just a small hint to the idea behind this R integration. From SQL Server 2016 on, R is integrated into SQL Server. And what you can do if you have, for example, scripts which do very good R visualizations, what you can do is you can use these scripts within SQL Server, just store the file on disk, and then embed the stored image into a reporting service report.
Yeah. Then we showed a little bit how you can analyze the SSRS database with Power BI. So just connect to the database with a Power BI workbook and analyze the data to see which user has access to which report, how often the report is used, and so on. Then the web service API as well as the OData API. We showed a little bit how you can work with a report server just through the API. Today we will show a little bit more about the REST API, because in 2016 the REST API or OData API was completely new and has limited functionalities.
Exactly.
And we showed a component called SSRS Report Generator Task. You can find it on GitHub.
Yeah.
It's an open source component for SQL Server integration services to generate reports directly in a control flow, and then you can send the reports after generation, after rendering via email or something like that.
Okay.
Okay, that was a small summary of our last session. Now let's start with a small comparison between the reporting platforms.
So what we, as consultants, what we often hear is, well, there is this Power BI and it's cool and it's flashy and you can do so much things. So reporting services is something no one is interested in anymore, but that is something that we found out is not true, because both tools have different areas where they can be used. And this is something we will
and
talk about.
The comparison here is not like SQL Server Reporting Services versus Power BI. It's just a little bit some topics of reporting services, especially for developers. And so one of the things we would like to mention is that reporting service at the moment you can only use on-prem or as infrastructure as a service with a VM on Azure. There's no service at the moment. It's primarily for Paginate reports, so that you can build reports for a paper or something like that. Frank yesterday mentioned the nice term, it's for functional documents, so for invoices and something like that.
Package lists, something like
that. But the benefit of these reports and reporting services is that it's completely freely configurable through expressions. So every object in a report you can configure through an expression. Is it a table? Is it a border? Everything in the report you can completely configure, which is not possible at the moment in Power BI.
Which is, on the other hand, a very nice thing. So you can build up your reporting services reports dynamically from out of the content from the database. So simple things like, for example, if there are numbers which are negative, you can just print them in red. If they are positive, you can print them in green. And these logic, which is a very simple example for logic, but such logics could be easily implemented in reporting services.
Yeah. Then you have an open report definition. It's called RDL. That's the format behind the report. It's an XML format. There are some libraries you can use to generate reports with RDL or as an RDL file. You can export the reports in different file formats. I don't know how many these are at the moment, but I think 6 or 7, something like that.
I think it's even more. And what's interesting here as well is there are different file formats. There are some machine-readable file formats like CSV, like XML or something like that. And there are human-readable file formats like PDF, like Excel, like Word. So there is a broad range of file formats you can export your reporting services reports to.
And there are also some third-party vendors where you can buy new file formats to export better PowerPoint slides with reporting services. So normally if you export a report as PowerPoint, you often have the complete chart as one image. And I think with Expose, the chart is it's not one image, it's more images, and you can change them later on in the PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Then you can export all these reports via an API. There's a special rendering API where you can export all the reports. And reporting services has a special developer focus. As you look to the tools which you have from reporting services, the primary tool is Visual Studio.
Yeah.
There are some tools for not so direct for the developer, but the main tool is Visual Studio.
And what's good about this is that through the integration in Visual Studio, you have a developer story as well, so you can easily check in your reporting services reports to Azure DevOps or to Team Foundation Server or whatever you like.
Yeah.
Okay, so in comparison to this, Power BI is mainly software as a service. So you just register at Power BI, you buy the license, and then you can use it. There is an on-premise story as well on Power BI report server, but Power BI report server does not offer all the functionality than the Power BI service is offering. So Power BI mainly is an interactive experience, and this is one of the reasons why in the beginning you weren't able to print Power BI reports, because it doesn't make, or at least in my opinion, it doesn't make any sense, because if you print a Power BI report, then you lose all this interactivity. And their interactivity is more like not for functional documents, but it's more like for people who would like to work with the data, who would like to understand the data and drill through the data and filter the data and try to make up some information from this data. Currently, there is no real developer story. So what you can do for sure is you can put your Power BI file, the PBX file, into source control and just upload it, but there is no real integration or something like this. On the other hand, when you look at the PBX files, they are built similar to the Office files. So the PBX file is nothing more than a zip container. And what you can do is you can extract it. And if you do this, we will have some slides for this as well. If you do this, you will find that in this zip container, there is a bunch of JSON files. And the fun part is it is JSON in JSON in JSON. We will see this a little bit later. So it is, if you would like to program a program which is altering these files, it's a little bit hard because there is no real documentation on this, as far as I know. So the other thing is that what you can do, you can embed Power BI reports as an ISV into your own software by using Power BI Embedded. And in comparison to reporting services, it's much easier to develop custom charts. So you can do it yourself by just programming JavaScript. And as you see, there is a real big number of custom charts out there. And there is another thing which is really cool that is called Charticulator. This is a website. You can go to this website. You can build your chart on the website. There is a software on this website which looks a little bit, I say a little bit like Photoshop or something like this. You can build your chart, and if you're done, you can export it as JSON, or not as JSON, as JavaScript as well, and then you have your own custom built chart. So this is a more easy experience. And on the other hand, comparing to reporting services, Power BI is more, or the focus on Power BI is more the power user who is using Excel and who can now use Power BI for his interactive reporting needs.
Yeah. We'd just like to show a little bit what Frank mentioned before with JSON and JSON in the PBX file if you export it. So just as a really simple example here, this is one Power BI sample with two different charts, with a pie chart and line, or what is it called?
Bar chart.
Bar chart, correct. And if you look into the container format, and hopefully you can read this, this is the JSON document, and you can load it in Visual Code and compare both documents. And there's just one line, line 16, where the visual type is just changed from pie chart to clustered column chart. That's on the one side, it's really easy. Just change these words, and you can convert your Power BI report or your visual in a Power BI report from a pie chart to another chart. But to find this in the complete JSON document is undocumented. It's not supported by Microsoft. You have clustered the different JSON documents into a JSON document.
There's even a file structure in the zip folder.
Yeah, there's a file structure in the zip file, so it's not recommended. So we just like to show you this part. Okay. Now, Paginate reports in Power BI.
Yes. So
Fred.
what we learned is that there are different areas where you can use Power BI and where you can use reporting services or paginated reports. And what you can do as well is you can just combine the best of both worlds, right? What you can do is you can have maybe your Power BI dashboard where you're analyzing all your invoices and something like this. And what you can do as well is you can have some URLs, and if you click on the URL, you will jump to a paginated report, and you can see, for example, the invoice. So this is something what's available in Power BI Report Server, Power BI Premium, or Power BI Embedded, with all the SKUs that are on our slides. But there you have only limited functionality. And what we did, I think now we are coming to the demo part. Right? What we did is we built a very simple Power BI report and a very simple reporting services report, and we combined them with each other. So as you might know, it is possible to control reporting services through an URL. So what you can do is you can write a URL, and if you, for example, you can pass parameters through this URL. And if you do this, then a reporting services report will be shown. So what we did here, let me have a look. Where is the? Okay, here it is. So what I did is I built this invoice overview report in Power BI, which is served through a Power BI report server here. And you see, this is as you know. So you can just filter and filter some more or whatever. And what I did is I wrote a custom column, and in this custom column, I'm assembling. You have this sales order ID here, right? Which is which identifies one sales order. And what I did is I just built a column where I concatenated the sales order ID with the right URL. And if you click on this, then you will see that you will get to the invoice. So the reporting server is not as fast at the moment.
It's early in the morning.
Yeah, it's early in the morning. It's sleeping. So, but what I can, this is a very easy integration. The only thing you have to do is you have to know how this URL is, which is just report server /pages /report viewer.aspx. And then AdventureWorks 2017, this is the reporting services folder within the report server. And then Invoice is the reporting services report. And
kannst auch mit Zoom mit rangehen.
Zoom it? Ah, so you can see a little bit better. So, and this is the folder, this is the report, this is the report parameter, and this is the value. And through this, you jump to the reporting services report, and so you can combine both worlds. So on the one hand, you can analyze your data. On the other hand, you can see the exact functional documents which are rendered through reporting services. And as you see now the report server is awakened, and now you see this is the report or the invoice that is behind this sales order ID. And so you can do an integration of both worlds and bring everything together.
Can I only open reports in this way?
No, what you can do as well, I didn't implement it now, but what you can do as well is you can control what reporting services is doing. So for example, if you would like to have some functionality where you directly get these invoices as a PDF file, you can do it as well. You just have to extend the URL through some commands which will render a PDF file or an Excel file or whatever.
So I could make it a little bit nicer to insert PDF icons into the Power BI report.
Yeah, sure.
And on click, I get the report as PDF.
This is only a very quick mock-up to show that this will work. But for sure, you can make it a little bit nicer. So maybe the persons working with this dashboard don't know that you are jumping to reporting services.
Yeah.
OK, so much for my demo.
OK, so then Frank also mentioned that you can now use Power BI, not Power BI, that you can now use paginated reports in Power BI. And to do that, there's a tool from Microsoft. And Patrick yesterday mentioned in his session that this was developed intern. And you can download this tool from GitHub. It's called Adl Migration tool. And if you, we'll just open it. So it's just called Adl Migration.
The question was, what is this tool called?
Adl Migration.
Yeah.
Adl Migration. You can find it on GitHub. And but the problem is, if you check out this tool, there are some bugs inside. So you cannot directly start it. There are some parts in the code where they're using interfaces instead of classes.
Yeah.
But it's not so hard to change that if you know a little bit C#. But what you can do then with this tool is that you can migrate your on-prem RDL files to Power BI. And the tool will look into the report and check your data sources and will also migrate these data sources to Power BI. And I will show you this. So I did it the easy way. I have here now, so it's a command line tool. I'm using this tool here now with 3 parameters. So the first one here is, or 4 parameters, sorry. The first one is that I have to define my report server. That's now here my local one. Then I define my path to the report. This is now the AdventureWorks 2017 and the report itself called AdventureWorks 2017 base. And then you can see here that I have path Summit 2019. This is the workspace name on Power BI. And then I have to also to give it an application ID from Power BI so that my application is allowed to communicate with the Power BI service. And if I now start, I will just go here to Power BI. So you can see here that I already have one report here. You can see it, it's with this icon. It's customer near stores. And if I now go here and start this project, you can just jump over to, okay, I have to log into to Power BI. Just change my keyboard. You can see successful login. The Adl Migration tool gets the reports. Now starts the conversion and uploading it to the report server. We'll switch here to this screen, and hopefully the internet is okay. So now the report is uploaded to the Power BI service. And in some seconds, you should see that the report appears and that you have to configure it. Come on. OK, so what, I don't know, it's a little bit slow at the moment. So what the tool does is it copies the report to the Power BI service and automatically, identifies that the data sources in the report are pointed at the moment to my local SQL server. And for that, Power BI service cannot access the local data. So just to have the data set or the data source to my local SQL server, so it's not possible to access it. I can now change this, and for that I have already installed a Power BI gateway on my local machine. And the system automatically detects the gateway, and I can now map it from my gateway to my data source AdventureWorks 2017. That's the database on my local machine which I can now access through the data gateway, and I say apply, and now I'm able to go to my report, and I can open the report, and you will see that the report is rendering, and I can now access the data on my local machine through the gateway. It's a little bit slow, but maybe that's the internet connection at the moment here.
No, could be.
Yeah. Come on. OK, we'll just go.
I think it's coming.
Yeah, OK. So this is now a simple report. It's loading everything more. And this is now the simple report with data from my local computer.
Yes.
OK, let's switch back to the other one. Oops. That was how to migrate RDL files to Power BI service.
Exactly.
OK, now let's have a look at how you can embed reports into your applications. There are different possibilities how you can do that. So the first question, what you have to ask yourself, what kind of app do I develop? Would I like to develop a Windows Forms app, classical Windows Forms application, or a web app, or a mobile app? And the second question is, which operating systems must be supported? So Windows, Linux, macOS. So sure, there are differences between the report itself, if you develop SQL Server Report Server or a Power BI report, but you cannot integrate every report easily into all the different kinds of apps or applications and operating systems. So we tried to give also here a small comparison between the different types of reports. So if you're using SQL Server Reporting Services, you can integrate it easily in desktop app, in a web app. You can access it easily with a web app client, and you can integrate it into a mobile app. We have these brackets here, because one possibility of the SQL Server Report Server is that you can render each report as HTML5. And with that, you can integrate reporting services nearly in every application which can talk HTML. So you can integrate it in a web app server and a web app client. But direct SDKs for SQL Server Reporting Services are at the moment only available for desktop apps and web apps based on Windows.
When you embed SQL Server reports, you can do it through URLs as well, for example, in an iframe. And from SQL Server 2016 on, there is a special command. I don't know the exact name, but it's called something like integrated report or something like that. And if you do this in the URL, then all these special things like the UI of the report server is not rendered, only a report. And what you can do there as well is you can do very simple reports, for example, where there's only a chart on it, and then you can use the chart in your own application.
Okay, for Power BI, at the moment, there's no real desktop app story. We did also put it here in brackets, because we will show you how we can add Power BI into a desktop app. But it's primarily for web apps and also for mobile apps. There's a simple integration of what Frank called functional reports, invoices, package list with SSRS. You can filter data to render reports. This is what you can do with reporting services here. And it's easy to export it in a different formats like PDF and Word. There are some NuGet packages to get these report viewer controls, and with that you can integrate it in your own applications. So there's a special report viewer control for WinForms and for web forms. And there are also various third-party components so that you can integrate this report viewer control into VPF or UWP. And Power BI, from our point of view, is more for interactive integrations. And you can filter data as a basis for further actions. I will show it to you later in the Power BI Embedded Playground. So these are some links. They're important if you like to use Power BI Embedded. So this version of Power BI to implement it in your own applications. Okay, now we start a small demo for that. I created a small application, it's just called Reports application. And first, what I'd like to show you is, so this is my application, and I will show you something which is called local report. So this is a simple report. So this is the report viewer control. And what you see here now is a local report. You can open it just as a standard report. Oh, if I had the report, yeah, there. But behind this local report, there's no SQL Server Reporting Services. This is a report which is called RDLC. And RDLC file is a local report. It's rendered directly with this report viewer on your local machine and not with a SQL Server Reporting Services. So this is a special kind of a report. And the difference here between normal reports, so who of you is writing C#? Okay, enough hands. I will just go here into my file, hopefully. Well, oops, maybe I'm not so good in C#. Wrong application. And I would like to go here. Yep. Come on. It's a really simple application. What you can see here, this is the RDL code. And what you have to specify here, instead of an SQL Server report, you have to specify the data sets, the SQL connections. So it's normally if you render a report directly on a report server, you specify the complete data sources and connections on the report server. Here you have to specify everything in your code and bind it to your report. But for that, you can create these reports directly in your applications without the SQL Server Reporting Services. Okay, the other thing is server report. So, oops, my server report has gone. Normally, I would show here the sales by region. Don't know why it's not exists at the moment. So this is normally the standard way to show a SQL Server report in an application. Why is it, Frank? Did you kill my report?
I didn't touch anything.
Uh-huh.
That's a problem if you have two developers working on one machine. So
yes, it's correct. Sales per region. Okay. I don't know. Normally, it should, the blank. I killed the blank there.
Aha.
Okay. And then, because I have a Power BI report server, I try to get the Power BI report shown directly in my application with this control. But what you can see here is that this is not allowed for this item type. So it's possible to connect with this report viewer control in a Power BI report server to a PBX file, but it's not allowed for this item type to show it here. But if you now like to show a Power BI report into your own applications, what can you do? So our idea was, who of you is using Visual Code or Azure Data Studio or something like that? Okay.
Only few.
You know that these tools are all based on Electron. So Electron is a framework, a JavaScript framework, which was developed by GitHub. And with this framework, you can develop desktop applications completely in JavaScript. And this is what you have with Visual Code, with Azure Data Studio, with Teams, Git Kraken. So there are many different huge programs which are completely developed in Electron.
And the big advantage of this is that it is platform independent. So you can use it on Mac, you can use it on Windows, you can use it on Linux.
Exactly. Matter. And what I need to work now with Power BI, I need a special token, which I generated via PowerShell. I will just copy it here. And then, oops, this is short. And just like to show it to you. It's a really simple application. But this is now a desktop. Damn.
Did you break it?
Yeah.
Ah.
This content isn't available. Okay. So it's too early in the morning for me to demo some tools. Okay.
It's a fantastic demo of how it's actually like to develop reporting.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
It's worked on my machine, so. Okay, so I'm not getting nervous. We'll just try it again. So usually I have to get here now my.
So we tried here to simulate a real-life situation, right?
Thank you, Frank.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I will copy again my access token. Try to get it now again. It looks better. It's slow, it looks better.
Yeah, that's.
Okay, I will try to wait a little bit more. So what I did here is there is something we mentioned in our report, in our slide deck. This is called Power BI Embedded Playground. And if you like to play, it's a good name for that playground, if you like to play with Power BI embedded, go to the site. We have it in our slides. And you can check what you can do with different Power BI reports directly into your applications. And you will get here the complete code, how you can create Power BI embedded, how you can integrate it in your applications. And I take some of these codes and add it into the Electron app. So now I have a desktop app, and in the desktop app I can show my Power BI dashboards. Here we go. And I have the complete functionalities inside, so it can go over a bar and see the different values behind that. And the benefit of this Power BI embedded is I can click on one of these bars in the chart, and now I get here a small JSON or a small text box with JSON script, because if I click on a chart, I get exactly which chart I clicked, the values inside, how it will be filtered, and with this information I can generate additional actions in my report. So it's not just I'm showing with reporting service, I just show a report and I have this nice chart, but here I can really interact with my data and with my charts in the application and use it to filter different reports and to create completely new actions. And if you go to the Microsoft side, there is here a nice thing. It's called Insight into Action, which shows it really good what you can do with this functionality. Is you can filter your data, and if you filtered your data to a specific point, you can here in this example say, okay, start a campaign, and the filtered data will completely select it in the background to create a complete new action. At this point here, it starts an email campaign.
Yeah.
This is something you cannot really do with reporting services. But with Power BI, if you integrate it in your applications, you can really create actions based on your filtered data. Okay. Just go over to the REST API. So what we mentioned at the beginning, last talk, we showed a little bit the REST API, and in 2016 it was more in a beta stadium, and since 2017 it's available for Report Server as well for Power BI Report Server. And the problem, I think still the problem is this is only a management API. So with the standard web service API from reporting services, you had the possibility to render reports and so on. This is nothing you can do at the moment with the management API.
On the other hand, what's the big advantage of that is that it was possible to build PowerShell commandlets based on this REST API, so you can manage your reporting server through PowerShell, which is a real cool thing and which we will come to a little bit later, but this is built exactly on this functionality.
Yeah, exactly. If you'd like to know more about these APIs, there are 2 links to a Swagger Hub where you can see the complete functionalities of the SSRS API as well as the Power BI Report Server API. And to show it a little bit to you, we have some simple example. On one hand, I use Postman, and with Postman, I just call the standard API. So you can see it here. I connect to my report server, calling the API in version v2. And then I get here all the different functionalities you can see here with the API. You can also get telemetry data out of your service with this API. You can get information about yourself or the user of the system. So I know now that I'm connected to the system as Tillmann, and my complete username. Don't have some favorite items at the moment. You can also get all the different reports from your SQL Server report. And what you can also do is you can query your reports. So if you look here, I using this function reports to get all the reports, but I also filter my reports so that I say, okay, just get these reports out of the systems which contains the name drill through in 2 different typos here in the field description. And so you can see here, these are now the different reports with the word drill through in it. So this you can do with the API. Here you can also get the Power BI reports out of the system, each report which is on your system. And you can also get the KPIs. And what we said in our last session was it's nice to create KPIs in Power BI, but in the last version it was not possible somehow to create KPIs the same type. So once you created a KPI in the report server, it was in the report server, but you had no possibilities to create KPIs like reports in your solution and just publish it to the report server. Now with this API, you have also the possibility to create KPIs through the REST API. Hopefully my demo will now work. So as you can see here, I have one KPI on my report server, which is called SQL Saturday Rhineland. And I can now go here and say I like to create a new KPI. I will call it SQL Saturday Munich, because we had this in October. And I had a value of 300 and a goal of 500. And that was not so good, so I get a status of -1. Say OK, and if I now refresh this, you will see that I've created directly a KPI on the system, and just to an .NET application. And what I did for this is that I create here a new KPI. No, not there. KPI. So I created KPI. There's a JSON behind that. I created a complete class for this JSON file of the KPI. And then I executed in my window here. Where is it? Here, that I add my KPI. Here's the complete JSON file. Send it to the endpoint of KPIs, and so I created it directly on the server.
And this is something what didn't work last time we were doing this presentation.
Yeah. And what I can also do, I can also read these KPIs, and so I can also say visualize, and I get my new KPI and visualize it in my application, because all the information are now in the JSON document, and I can visualize it a little bit more in a developer style, so it's not so nice as in the report itself. Okay. So that was the SSRS REST API. Frank, now it's your turn.
SSRS and Docker. So in Germany, I'm known as a very huge Docker fan, right? And if you are developing applications, then maybe you have, or not maybe, but what you would like to have is you would like to have some system where you can deploy your application or your reports to. And usually what you can do for sure is you can install the system or SQL Server, reporting services, everything on your laptop and use it there. But the problem is it's always sitting there in the background, even if you don't use it, and it will need some resources. Maybe just a quick poll. Who of you is or who of you knows Docker? 1, 2, okay, okay. So yeah, well, so this is not a Docker introduction, but I will try to shortly summarize what's Docker all about. If you have virtual machines, you have a if you have a virtual machine, then a computer is simulating another computer, and you're able to put an operating system on this computer, and then you can put your applications there. What Docker does is, Docker is, or a Docker container is only a process. The process runs on your underlying operating system, so there is no additional operating system, and the Docker container just records all the changes you do to the file system of your Docker host, and this is the reason why Docker containers come up very quickly. So, for example, if you have a Docker container with, or if you instantiate a Docker container with a SQL Server in it, it will be up within 3 seconds or something like this, and then you can use and access the SQL Server on this Docker container. Docker containers are made of Docker images. A Docker image you can imagine like a template for a Docker container, and you can build these images yourself. And I would like to show what we did. There is no Docker container from Microsoft where they where they provide reporting services, but we built one of these Docker containers for ourselves. And I will shortly show you how we did this. Tillmann, can you please switch?
Can you shortly explain why?
Why what?
Why you like to use a Docker container for reporting services?
Yeah, I use a Docker container for reporting services because yeah, that's the right reason. No, because every time you spin up a Docker container, you have a fresh environment. So you don't have, for example, if you have a DevOps pipeline or something like that, you don't have to clean up after you publish your reports, so you can publish reports again. What you can do with Docker is you can just delete the Docker container, it's gone, and you can create it new, and the new Docker container is a fresh environment. And it is to create a new Docker container, this is very quickly. So what you can do as well is you can use Docker containers for your testing purposes. You spin up a Docker container, you deploy all your reports there, you test them there, and after the test is gone, then you just delete your Docker container, this is gone as well, and everything is fine. Okay, so now switch, okay. Docker images are made of Docker files. So a Docker file is more like something like a build instruction for a Docker container. There is a command which is called docker build. I won't show it to you in this demo because a build of this image we have here lasts for about 10 or 15 minutes, which is a little bit long. So I will just show you the result, and I will go through this Docker file. What we did is, first of all, Docker images are made of layers. And so if you have pre-made Docker image, for example, this image we have here from Microsoft with the MS SQL Server Windows Developer Edition, then I can put my things or things that I would like to install in this image on top of this. So you rarely start completely from scratch and do something. You pick the Docker image which is closer to what you would like to achieve and then build up upon this. So I selected the MS SQL Server Windows container. What's important here as well is you can use Docker containers in Windows and in Linux. The problem is the Microsoft doesn't provide SQL Server Reporting Services, integration services, and all this stuff for Linux, so you have to use Windows containers. Okay, what I did is I took this Windows container, and then you can issue run commands. And when you issue these run commands, following is happening. There will be a Docker container spin up from this image, then this run command will be executed, then the Docker container will be shut down and will be saved as an intermediate image. And this goes through all the script until we are at the end. First of all, what I do is I install Chocolatier. Who of you knows Chocolatier? Some? Okay, for all the others, Chocolatier is very interesting. It's a packet manager for Windows. What you can do easily is you can, after you install it through this PowerShell command here, you can run commands like run choco install, and this is SSRS. And this is a community-driven project, and there are so many packages for everything you can imagine. There are packages for Management Studio. There are packages for Google Chrome. There are packages for whatever you can think of. And you can install this software very easily through a script with these run choco install. You can even uninstall it if you just put in run choco uninstall and then software you would like to uninstall, or you can even update software through this. So this part just installs the executables of reporting services. So next thing we have to do is, because you can imagine running Docker container with a Windows system in it, you can imagine a little bit like a Windows core server, right? There is no GUI, there is nothing you can click on. The only thing you can do is you can issue PowerShell commands. And the next thing we have to do is we have to install some packages we can work with reporting services and with SQL Server. First of all, what I'm doing here is these packages are on the internet and they are downloaded through NuGet. So the first thing I'm doing here is I'm installing the package provider for NuGet. Next thing I do is I install the reporting services tools. This is a project you can find on GitHub as well. And these are PowerShell commandlets you can use to manage report server. And after this first Choco install command, we installed the binaries of reporting services, but they are not configured. So there are no reporting services databases, there are no URLs. Everything you do with these graphical user interface when you install it on a Windows machine with a graphical user interface is not done. Only the binaries are installed. And so we need the reporting services tools for installing or for configuring our report server. And we need the SQL Server tools as well, so I install them as well here. Next thing I'm doing is I'm making a directory, and I'm copying a local file from a machine where I built this Docker image to the image. So this is because of following. When you're starting the image with SQL Server, the SQL Server, or when you're starting the container based on this image, the SQL Server will come up. And only after the SQL Server is running, I can install my reporting services databases. Well, otherwise, I have no SQL Server where I can install them. So what I'm doing here is I'm just copying a script where are all the commands in. I will show it in a minute. Where are all the commands in you use to finalize your setup. Next thing I'm just doing a health check to gain some time while SQL Server is starting up. And then I will issue these with a command. These commands are with run, so they are executed during building the image. The command, which is issued with CMD, with command, is a command which will be executed by starting a container from this image. So what you can see, there are plenty of run statements in this file and only one command statement, because this is the statement which will be executed when you start your container from this image. So next thing, let's have a look at finish installation, what we're doing here. So first of all, I define some variables here. When we will put these scripts on GitHub, so you can find them and can use them. First of all, we define some variables here where we can just, which you can just change up here, and then you can do your own installation. Next thing is, we need a user, and this is only a kind of proof of concept that you can run a reporting server within a Docker container. And what I do here is there is this user administrator, which is disabled. I just enable it, and then I give him a password. As you can see, it's a very secure password because we have special characters, we have numbers, we have characters in this. And then I set this password for this user so I can log on to the reporting server. This part is configuring the reporting server. So this is what you usually do through the graphical user interface. There is a SSRS database where I put in all the information that I collected above. So I'm defining the name of the database server. I'm defining the name of the report server. I'm defining the name of the report server instance. I'm defining the credential type. So the credential types in this simple example is service account. Then I set, what's very important is to set the SQL Server version number. Because we have a SQL Server 2017, and within these scripts that are, or within the commandlets of the reporting services tools library, they have SQL Server 2016 as a default. So if you don't put in this line here, then it will run into an error because it cannot find the SQL Server 2016, because we have a SQL Server 2017 here. And this confirm false is only that usually if you just issue this command, then there is a prompt which says, do you really want to execute this? Because in the background it will just create some databases. And yeah, and the next thing we do is through set Irs Url Reservation, I'm defining the URLs for this report server that you can, or for the URLs where the report server portal and the report server web service are running at. And sometimes it doesn't come up nicely for some reason, I don't know why. What we can do as well is we can just restart the reporting services server within the container. So we are able to access this the portal. And after we did this, we get this here. This is a report server running in a Docker container. You can see it up here because there is a very strange name for my computer. I don't name my computer this way. This is the name of the Docker container, which is put in there by default. And now I could just use this Docker container, which is running locally on my machine. I can use it as a SQL Server Reporting Services instance. I can publish reports there. I can test reports there. And when I delete the Docker container, then everything is completely gone. So this is something you can use. This is only a proof of concept to show that it can be done. This is not very, the scripts are not very elaborated. I think there is much room for improvement. And this is nothing I would advise you to run in production or something like this, right? It's just a demo, and you can use it for development. You can use it for just publishing reports. Okay, Tillmann, that was the Docker part.
That was fast for you.
Yes, I know. Okay.
Okay, but we have the next part.
We have the next part, right. The next part is about managing SQL Server with PowerShell. Another interesting, or another thing is if you develop SQL Server reports. Nowadays, these SQL Server reports may be contained within a bigger solution, which is managed by a DevOps pipeline, right? So you can program your relational database, you can program your SSRS packages, you can program your reporting services reports, and you have a pipeline, and in this pipeline, after checking in things or checking in your code, an automatic build is issued, and after this automatic build went through, the reports and all your database system is deployed to, for example, a test system. And so you're not only, today, the focus has shifted a little bit. So you're not only, or one of your tasks is not only to program or to develop reporting services reports, but also to manage them and maybe to manage a report server. And the good thing is you can do this by PowerShell, so you can automate this. And if you're building your build pipelines, no matter what tool you use, it could be Team Foundation Server, could be Azure DevOps, could be Jenkins, could be anything. All these tools support PowerShell steps. So what you can do is you can program whatever you need for your report server. For example, some code which deploys your reports. And you can program it in PowerShell. You can put it into the PowerShell step, and then you have automated your process. So after you checked in, after your solution has been built, and after this is finished, then you could do an automatic deployment of your report through PowerShell. So what can you do exactly? So first of all, you can configure your report server, which is a very interesting and very important thing if you have a server where you don't have any graphical user interface, like this Docker container, or maybe like Windows Core server, right? You have no user interface, so you have to have another way to configure your reporting services. The other thing is, what you can do as well is you can do management with the PowerShell commandlets for reporting services. You can create and delete folders. You can upload reports. What's interesting here as well is you can do a bulk upload. So if you have a folder and in the folder there are many reports, you can just do a bulk upload with one command and upload all the reports to your report server. You can update reports and you can manage security. So you can manage security on one report, or you can even on a folder or something like that, and you can manage security on the whole system. This is something you can do with PowerShell. And another thing I like about PowerShell very much as well is when you're writing scripts, you have scripts which are repeatable. So when you just click in a GUI something, maybe you have a bad day, then you don't remember all the clicks you have to do. But if you write a script, you have a script which exactly does the same thing. And on the other hand, what I like there as much as well, if you have a script, you have a kind of documentation for what you did. Because in the script there is documented, or there are commands for uploading reports, there are commands for setting security, and so on. Okay, shall we jump into a demo? The demo is on your machine.
The demo is on my machine.
So we have to switch the speakers and not to switch the video. Yes. Okay. So let's see how we will do this. If you who of you is working with PowerShell? Oh, more hands. Okay, good. So if you're working with PowerShell, I strongly advise you to use the version 5 because there are very, very neat commands in there, like, for example, import module. So when you don't have the module for reporting services, what you can easily do is you can just write a command, as we've seen on the other laptop. We won't switch now, but as you've seen, just import -module. And then just give the name of the module, and if your machine has access to the internet, it will automatically download the module from the internet and install it. So, okay, so let's see. I just prepared a little script, and I think I put it on the desktop here.
Oh,
yeah. Okay, I will just open it with Visual Studio Code so you can see, and maybe I will just yeah, we'll just do a little bit. What's this? Oh. Okay, so let's see this script. What the script is doing is following. There are some very interesting reports of the SQL Server Tiger team, which analyze. Oh, well, I'll get rid of this here as well. Which analyze your SQL Server environment. And what I'm doing here is I'm just downloading them. This is this part here. There are just where the URLs are for these reports and whatever. And I'm just downloading them and installing them automatically as well. So this is something I did already. So when we just go to the documents folder here on Tillmann's PC, and hopefully he didn't delete them. Otherwise, it's a good thing about PowerShell, which you can just run the script and then we have them again, right? Okay, so, but Tillmann behaved and didn't delete them. This is very good. So these reports were through the script, and we will provide you the script as well after the talk. These reports through the script were automatically downloaded from the web page where they are, and they were automatically extracted. And now we are able to automatically deploy them to our report server. First of all, I would like to show you a thing. I will just put in. Oh no, I will use the PowerShell command line because it is what you can do with Visual Studio Code is you can this one. I will zoom in a little bit. What you can do with Visual Studio Code as well is you can just have a terminal down here and can issue commands, for example, PowerShell commands from within Visual Studio Code. The problem is if I do this in the presentation, it's hard to see for you because there is only a small part, and then some text is scrolling up and down, and there's nothing you can really good follow. So we will do this way. So first thing, after we installed all this stuff, is a very good, what I like very much about PowerShell as well is when Microsoft developed PowerShell, they thought about things like discoverability, because you have a command line shell, and usually it's very hard to learn command line shell, to learn all the commands and everything. And PowerShell is all about discoverability, all about making a command line experience as convenient as possible. And one command you can use, for example, is get command. What you can do is you can put in get command with minus module and then the module you would like to get all the commands of. And then you see a list of all commands which are in this module. And so you know what can I do with this module. I will just show you. So this is really a little bit very small, but okay. I will just zoom in. So what you see here, this is there are several aliases in here. An alias is just another name for a command. So there are some aliases in here, but there are some functions as well. What's very important, and what is a real good thing, is there are things like backup, Irs Encryption key. As a consultant, I was sometimes confronted with the following situation. The SQL server was broken or whatever, and the company had to reinstall it and had to reinstall the backup. And they also run reporting services and say, well, OK, let's just recover the backup. And then I would like to have the key for report server to just open or to just encrypt the reporting services database. And then I say, well, what key? Say, well, if you didn't back up the key, then this would be a hard situation now because we cannot recover the reporting services database. What's good here is there are commands for backing up or for handling this key as well. And what you can do here is you can just write scripts, and within the scripts you are able to automate the backup of the key as well. So, for example, you have a script which installs your your reporting server. And one part of the script could be that it automatically just extracts the key and puts it somewhere on your hard drive where you can then put it somewhere else. OK, so these are all the functions we have. So let's see what we can do with them. So next thing we can do is this is the part where I download the reports and where I expand the archive and everything. This is not so interesting. This is an interesting thing here, new RS folder. I can just create a new reporting services folder. And to prevent that my demo is not working, I will just copy in all these commands here. Or these are not commands, these are just variables. So I have all the needed values. And what I can do next is I can just try to create a new folder. So I will just issue this command here. new RS folder, put it in here. And it lasts a little while. As Tillmann said, when it lasts a little while, then it's good. Otherwise, it would have bring an error. So this is something
Zoom
with
it.
what?
Zoom müssen wir rein.
Ah, yeah. Zoom it, right? So what you can see here, I issued this command. It came back with no message. And if you're using PowerShell, no message is a good thing because it all executed successfully. So what I can do now is I can just jump back here to my report server, and I refresh the page. And you see there is a new folder I just created through PowerShell. Next thing is this folder is empty for sure because there are no reports in it. And next thing we can do is we can just bulk upload all the reports we have through this write RS folder content. What you do here is you put in a report server URI. You put in a path where all these reports you would like to upload are. And you would put in a destination where they should be uploaded to. This is our report folder name. So I will just issue this one, put it in here. And now it works a little bit. If you publish reporting services reports from within Visual Studio, there are some warnings showing up sometimes if some objects overlap or something like this. This happens here as well. So the chart 1 and rectangle, whatever overlap, it's only warning, so it's fine. So now the prompt is back again, and now I've uploaded all the reports which are in this folder here. There are plenty of reports, right? I uploaded all these reports to my report server, and when I do a refresh here as well, it lasts a little bit. Then we will see all the reports. What's interesting here, What's interesting here is that I can use the PowerShell reporting services libraries not only for reporting services, but also for reporting or for Power BI report server. As you see here, we are not using a reporting services server. We are using a Power BI report server. So let's have a little further look. What we can do as well is we can just check what's on our report server. So we can just program functionality that you see that are all the reports which are on our report server in the folder name. And so what you can do is you can automate very much with reporting services through PowerShell. And what you can do here is you can use this within, for example, an automatic build pipeline or an automatic deployment process. There are plenty of other commands. I don't go through all of them with you. What you can do is you can just deploy a single item by just uploading one file. For sure, you can delete an item. You can also delete a folder. You can update reports by just doing, if you would like to update all reports, you can use write RS folder content again with the switch override. Then it will just overwrite all your reports. It's exactly the same what you're doing if you are deploying them from Visual Studio. Then you will overwrite your reports as well. You can have updated a single report. You can use a comma-separated list of reports you would like to update. You can use pipelining by just getting some items and then overwriting them. What you can do as well is you can use extended pipelining where you can use, for example, such kind of a where object where you can specify which of all the reports which are on your report server should be updated or something. We would like to update all the reports starting with F or something like this, right? You can program it here. So you are very flexible how you can work with your report server. The same you can do with administering report item security. You can give catalog role for special folders. So you can say, well, there is, for example, Tillmann can browse all the reports in one of these folders, and there is one special report. He should not only browse, but he should also administer. So I can give him for this one report the content manager role. And you can do the same with the permissions for the server as well. So I can I won't do this, but what I can, or it's your server, so you can do what you want. But on the other hand, what I could do is I could use a simple PowerShell command to give Tillmann the administration permissions on the report server. Okay, so this is all we got for you today. Are there any questions? Yes, there's a question.
How do you fix the data source connections when you migrate the reports from one server to another server by using the PowerShell? In this case,
yes.
you don't touch the data source anywhere.
Yeah, right.
Because those performance reports are automatically just...
Yes, what you can do as well is there are PowerShell commands where you can alter the data source as well. So you can use this. And what you can do as well is, usually if you're working with data sources, you have a shared data source, right? And then what you can do is you can issue PowerShell commands which are altering the shared data source when you upload it. So and what you can do there as well, for example, if you have different environments where you would like to deploy your reporting services to, you could, for example, define these environments in some text files or whatever, and then have a special logic where in one time you pick this environment, then you pick that environment, and then you can change the you can change the data sources on the fly by just using these PowerShell commands. Other questions?
That module is available in PowerShell, right?
Pardon?
That module is available to...
The module is available in the internet. You can just download it by import module reporting services tools. Then it will download this module. And it's also developed in the open on GitHub, so you can exactly see what is developed and which functionality there are, and you can even contribute. Okay, you're very welcome. Yes?
I have a question about the embed token.
Yep.
In your embedded Power BI. Does having that token circumvent any of the Active Directory security with the Power BI report in the workspace? So if you have a report in a workspace, you've got an AD security group that
Yeah.
has access to it, but you want to provide it in the app. Whoever is using the app, does that token circumvent the AD group or user? Do they have to be part of that group?
I'm not the embedded specialist, but yes. So I don't know if there are two different kinds of Power BI embed report apps. It's apps own data, and the other thing is user owns data or something like that. And so if you use a token, it's bind on the token. It's more app's own data, so the app has the rights to get all the data. And if you use user owns data, then you get something also like row-level security also in embedded applications. But for that, I think you have to, you can't use a token. I think for that you have to use the real AD user. Yeah. So there's also in our slides a link where you can create an application. There's a small wizard where you can create the application for Power BI Embedded, and then you can download an ASP.NET file or zip file with an ASP.NET application. And there you can choose if you like to use an AD user or a token. And then you can, if you start the application with a user, then you have the possibility to log into the service or to the application and work with it.
Other questions?
Ich glaube, wir sind drüber.
Okay.
Okay.
When there are no questions, then yeah, thank you for attending.
Thank you.